Happy Labor Day. So, you know, if you've been a Jerome for a while on this channel, that we generally look towards the positive and upbeat, but sometimes you just gotta read the riot act and just like. So the Vikings offensive line, we have some thoughts. So this has been a bone of contention for a while, basically for the bulk of the last decade. Basically, there has been a failure to communicate that you need to have a competent starting five offensive line. Now, Spielman, yes, whiffed on Khalil, hit on John Sullivan. Phil Lodeholt was great for a while, but he inherited them, right? Well, not Sullivan, but you know what I'm saying. But it just hasn't worked out. And it hasn't been for lack of trying. You spend a first-round pick on Bradbury. O'Neal, second round, is great. Elflein was a high third-round pick. You spend massive free agent deals for Riley Reif, for Mike Remmers, for Alex Boone. Yeah, you can even throw Josh Klein in there, too. Then you cut him for no reason whatsoever, right? So I was open-minded head into this offseason because Brian O'Neill emerging as one of the best right tackles in the game. Garrett Bradbury drastically improved as the season went along. You're hopeful for the Grim Reacher in year two going forward, but you know, it is what it is. Vikings were the 27th graded offensive line in the NFL last year in terms of PFF blocking grade. Vikings also allowed 163 pressures on Kirk Cousins last season with 28 sacks. Cousins was the 8th most pressured quarterback in the NFL last season at 36.4% of his dropbacks. Somehow, that was a massive improvement over 2018 when Kirk was pressured 260 times for 40 sacks. Yeah, but this can be fixed, right? You cut Elflein, you finally move on after 3 years of whatever the hell he's been. Then also you cut Riley Reif, you take all that big cap space and then move it somewhere else, and perhaps sign a starting guard in free agency. Draft a tackle, find some starters on the offensive line this offseason. You're good to go. The only two guys who are guaranteed a spot should be Bradbury and Elflein, or Bradbury and O'Neal. Nailed it. And I get it. Veterans. Coaches are generally very conservative, as well as this offseason with no OTAs. Continuity is going to be a big advantage for teams. So I get it. But that should not stagnant change. And 15 draft picks and a massive Riley Reif pay cut later, the Vikings roll into week one with essentially the same offensive line as 2019, minus the solid Josh Klein, who was by far your best guard last season. But hey, you save $5 of cap space by cutting Klein. So great. And yes, I do love Ezra Cleveland in the second round. I think he's going to be the future left tackle of the Vikings. But you basically kneecapped any chance of him contributing this season, right? He is a left tackle. He will always be a left tackle. This entire pussyfooting experiment with him at left guard, it's so stupid. It is so moronic. He's not going to be in there long term. Also, if you did put him at left guard, why wasn't he in the left guard competition? Why wasn't the second round pick, who you think could move to left guard, in the competition with Dakota Dozier and Avion DeCollins, who you cut, by the way? Right, so you're telling me that Cleveland couldn't compete with that, or Drew Samia, or Oli Udoh, or what is the plan here, right? So basically, you took away all left tackle snaps from Cleveland, essentially nullifying his opportunity to take over left tackle if the Riley Reif pay cut turned into a cut. Like no one was thinking that you were going to move Brian O'Neill to left tackle and then start Rashad Hill. That wasn't going to happen. Yeah, that bluff was not working on the public. It worked on Reif, but yeah. But then, all right, so you love Ezra Cleveland second round, but then you didn't double down on offensive line, which I think they definitely should have. You had solid potential starters for the Vikings like Jonah Jackson, Lloyd Cushenberry, Matt Pert, Ben Barsh, Logan Stenberg, Tyler Biadasz, all gone. Yes, you did pick up Blake Brandel as well as Kyle Hinton, who I love, but both are definitely long-term projects. Both are currently on the practice squad. They did not make the 53. So with 15 draft picks, an NFL record, by the way, for the 7-round draft, you come away with one 53-man roster offensive lineman, and he's buried. It's probably not going to see the field unless Armageddon hits. So I do blame Spielman here. I think it was an error. I blame Zimmer. I blame Kubiak. I damn sure blame Rick Dennison. This is arrogance. This is aloofness. This is being loyal to a fault to players who have shown over the past couple of years are not as good as they think they are, right? And also Dennison, I talked about Dennis and Sarah. He is the one who vouched for Dozier and Elflein. He is the one that's like, all right, Pat Elflein moving to right guard. He was a 2015 All-American national champion at right guard. Would do that. Dakota Dozier, he's my guy for a long time. He'll fill in fine, even though he started 4 games last year and was garbage. Yeah, I got this. Hey, Rick, you don't need to spend draft picks on an interior offensive lineman because, I'm just not going to play Ezra Cleveland anyway. But you don't need to bring anyone in. You don't need to trade for a guard. You don't need to sign Larry Warford. You don't need to trade for Joe Thuney. You don't need to do anything like that. Yeah, it's cool that Dozier knows the playbook, but he started 4 games last year. He was not good, as well as he couldn't start for the Jets. That doesn't get talked about enough. Elflein changes positions more often than a politician reading the Kama Sutra. Did you know that there's a reverse cowgirl? It's nice. And also, Riley Reef is only back because no one would pay him about $350. Like, that was really it. Riley Reef decided to take a massive pay cut, almost half of his base salary off, because no one out there wanted to pay him and start him. I mean, those are just facts, right? So, week 1, you have the Packers with stupid Kenny Clark and stupid Zadarius Smith and stupid Preston Smith. Week 2 last season, the Packers pressured Cousins 28 times with a sack and 2 forced fumbles, put Kirk into 2 interceptions. Week 16, they had 20 pressures and 5 sacks. Zadarius Smith had 3.5 on his own. So, total, those 2 games, 48 pressures, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 losses squarely on the offensive line. But, yeah, so the response to that, roll out the same offensive line. Retain Elflein, retain Dozier, retain Riley Reef. Great. And the season all starts and ends with the offensive line. If the offensive line can't play, Dalvin can't perform, they can't protect Cousins, passing game doesn't get going, the defense will be fine, even with a lot of young pieces. But this team does need to control the clock. They do need to put up points, but I understand. Again, continuity will favor teams this season, the ones that have it, but this seems like overkill. It does. It really does. You didn't invest in the offensive line. You didn't bring in any key free agents. You didn't draft anyone high except for Cleveland, and then you're going to kneecap him by playing him out of position and also not playing him at all. And then it's frustrating. But obviously we're hoping for the best. Are we expecting? Not from that Friday scrimmage when he made Jaleel Johnson look like a goddamn All-American. But it's like blackjack. The Vikings stood pat on a 13 facing a face card from the dealer. I mean, it might work out, but the odds are not in your favor, friendo. So, again, hoping for the best. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we're wrong. But your thoughts, offensive line, let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, post some in the Venmo. But until next time, Skull, production value.